Welcome to the History in Focus channel. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss more videos like this one. A German communist faces the firing squad with his arms crossed in a defiant gesture in Munich in 1919. He was captured during the repression of the Bavarian Soviet Republic, a brief revolutionary government formed after World War I. The repression was violent, resulting in thousands of executions as the government crushed the socialist movement in the region. In 1890, visiting the dentist was a rather precarious experience. Without modern anesthesia, procedures were carried out in an improvised manner, and the patient's head was often strapped to ease the work. Makeshift offices in pharmacies or small shops made everything even more uncomfortable, highlighting the challenges of healthcare at the time. In 1911, Joseph Stalin was arrested by the Russian Empire's secret police, the Okhrana, for his revolutionary activities. This police record, taken in Baku, captured Stalin before he became the leader of the Soviet Union. At the time, he used false names and organized strikes and protests, being considered a threat by the Tsarist regime due to his role in the clandestine Bolshevik movement. These children in the photo are pumping water unaware that they are in front of the infamous death pump. In 1876, the water from a public pump in London started to taste strange, and it was later discovered to contain liquid human remains. These remains had infiltrated the underground water flow from nearby cemeteries, sparking a public health scandal at the time. A V-1 flying bomb is about to hit London in 1945. During World War II, these bombs were used by Germany to attack the city from a distance. Known for their distinctive sound, which disappeared before the explosion, the V-1 bombs created immense terror, as the interruption of the noise signaled that the bomb was about to fall, bringing destruction to civilians. Oswald Mosley, leader of the British Union of Fascists, was hit in the head by a stone while giving a speech and performing the famous Roman salute. This happened in 1936 when Mosley was trying to gain support for his movement, but his figure and ideas caused strong opposition, evident in incidents like this, which showed growing resistance to fascism in the United Kingdom. Piotr Szemy, a Polish concentration camp survivor, awaits his execution in Landsberg, 1947. He was condemned for killing a German family that had taken him in during the harsh winter. Szemy, found wandering during a cold night, was given food and shelter but allegedly attacked the family driven by paranoia or trauma from the atrocities committed by the Nazi regime. John Mackay and Edith Steiner met in 1945 when he, a Scottish soldier, helped liberate her from the Auschwitz concentration camp. Edith, a Holocaust survivor, and John fell in love and built a life together. The couple shared 70 years of marriage, turning an encounter marked by tragedy into a long story of love and resilience. In Germany in 1890, patients with mental disorders were often restrained with ropes, as shown in the image. In some cases, they were believed to be suffering from demonic possession, justifying extreme methods. Without sedatives or proper treatments, such practices were common, highlighting the era's ignorance about mental health and the impact of psychiatric illnesses. Nazi soldiers were forced to watch footage of the horrors of the concentration camps after World War II as part of an effort to confront them with the atrocities committed by the regime. The expressions of shock and discomfort reflect the Allies' attempt to directly hold those who served under the Third Reich accountable. In 1972, an FBI agent wearing only underwear carried $1 million to negotiate with airplane hijackers. Among those responsible was George Wright, who escaped successfully and remained a fugitive for over 40 years. He was captured only in 2011, living under a false identity in Portugal after a discreet life that defied authorities for decades. In the photo, more than 50,000 people are gathered at Yankee Stadium to watch the boxing match between Jack Dempsey and Luis Firpo in 1923. This event was one of the biggest of the time, drawing an impressive crowd. Dempsey, the heavyweight world champion, faced the Argentine challenger Firpo in an electrifying fight that marked one of the most exciting moments in boxing history. Prince Randian, born in 1889, became known as the Snake Man, or human torso. Without arms or legs, he amazed audiences with his circus performances, where he demonstrated skills like lighting cigarettes with his lips. His story began in British Guiana. from where he was brought to the United States to join freak shows, becoming a striking figure of that era of entertainment. During the Vietnam War in the 1960s, Saigon's bar girls became part of the harsh local reality. These women worked in bars frequented by American soldiers, often offering companionship and other services in exchange for sustenance. The war transformed Saigon into a center of commerce, leisure, and survival, exposing the difficulties faced by the civilian population. Bonnie and Clyde's car, riddled with bullets, shows the tragic end of the famous criminal duo in 1934. Ambushed by police in the state of Louisiana, the vehicle was hit by more than 130 shots. The Ford 5.8 became a symbol of the gangster era, while the fate of the two marked the end of a wave of crime that terrorized the United States during the Great Depression. Devices like this promise to increase height by stretching the spine. Using neck and arm straps, the machine aimed to gain extra inches. The search for quick solutions to aesthetic issues was a trend of the time. Although there was no scientific proof, these machines were popular among those seeking to improve their physical appearance. American paratroopers are about to take off for the Normandy invasion on D-Day in 1944. They were preparing for one of the most dangerous missions of World War II. The invasion was crucial to the defeat of the Nazi regime, and these soldiers were vital in the first hours of the battle, jumping behind enemy lines to support the landing of troops on France's beaches. In 1928, Soviet peasants experienced the novelty of radio for the first time, a breakthrough that connected even the most remote areas to the outside world. This innovation was promoted by the government as part of its campaign to modernize and educate the rural population. The radio brought news, propaganda, and culture, transforming communication in isolated villages. Charles Thompson is warmly welcomed by his new classmates, a historic moment that took place just 4 months before the Supreme Court's decision declaring racial segregation unconstitutional. This meeting represented courage and the first steps toward integration in American schools. Military personnel and officers crowd in front of a window at the Palace of Versailles, France, in 1919, watching the moment of the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. This event officially ended World War I, imposing severe conditions on Germany, such as massive financial reparations and limitations on its military power, shaping the global political landscape for the following decades. Joseph Stalin on the right, alongside his body double Felix Dadev. During his rule, Stalin used body doubles as a security measure to deceive potential assassins and protect his life. Felix Dadev, besides resembling Stalin physically, was also trained to mimic the leader's gestures and voice, playing a vital role in public events and high-risk travels. In the photo, the Egyptologist Howard Carter examines the mummy of King Tutankhamun in 1922. This discovery, made in the Valley of the Kings, was one of the greatest archaeological finds of all time, revealing treasures and mysteries of ancient Egypt. Tutankhamun's tomb remained intact for thousands of years, offering an unmatched view of the life and death of one of Egypt's most famous pharaohs. A survivor of the atomic attack in Nagasaki, Japan in 1945, is seen among the rubble of the destroyed city. Amid the devastation caused by the bomb, her expression shows resilience in the face of tragedy. Japan was living through the consequences of the conflict, with victims enduring the pain and suffering after the explosion of the nuclear bombs. China's first nuclear test, held in 1964 in the Lop Nor Desert, marked the country's entry into the exclusive club of atomic powers. Celebrated enthusiastically, the success established China as the fifth nation to master nuclear technology. The experiment, the result of years of secret development, took place amid Cold War tensions, altering the global geopolitical balance. During the Russo-Japanese War in 1904, Japanese soldiers improvised baths in the battlefield, as seen in this photo. Personal hygiene was essential to prevent diseases in a brutal conflict where unsanitary conditions caused as many casualties as the fighting. This war marked Japan's rise as a military power after its victory over Russia, altering the power balance in Asia. Catherine Stinson made history as the first female pilot authorized to carry mail in the United States, departing from Calgary. She defied prejudices and the dangers of aviation at the time, paving the way for future generations of female pilots. Catherine was also known for her aerial stunts, which captivated audiences and promoted aviation at fairs and events. On top of the Fiat factory in Turin, Italy, a unique test track was built in the 1920s. Designed to evaluate cars directly on site, the track could replicate real road conditions without the vehicles needing to leave the premises. This visionary idea highlighted Fiat's creativity, becoming a milestone in automotive engineering of the period. In 1958, while testing safety nets, a prisoner was used as part of rigorous experiments to ensure the efficiency of the equipment before mass production. At the time, it was common to employ prisoners in high-risk activities, a practice that raised ethical questions but aimed to validate the reliability of devices designed to save lives in accidental falls. In this rare photo from April 30, 1908, Harry Houdini, one of the most iconic magicians in history, prepares to perform another of his famous death-defying tricks. Known for his impossible escapes, Houdini amazed crowds by escaping chains, locked boxes, and even water tanks, solidifying his reputation as a legend of illusion. In this 1978 photo, Neil Armstrong receives the first Congressional Space Medal of Honor from President Jimmy Carter. This new award recognized Armstrong for his historic role as the first man to step on the moon, along with other space pioneers like John Glenn, the first American to orbit the Earth, and Alan Shepard, the first American in space. Vietnam War veterans, with visible and invisible scars, raised their voices in protest against the war, saying, "We will not fight in another rich man's war." They questioned the meaning of the conflict, where many of those on the front lines came from lower social classes, while the elites stayed far from the battlefield. This mobilization was a landmark in the anti-war movement. German soldiers raised the Nazi flag over the Acropolis in 1941 during the occupation of Athens. This moment occurred after the German invasion of Greece, which joined Bulgaria and Italy in resisting the Axis. The image symbolizes Germany's military victory, and the flag remained in place until 1944, when German troops withdrew from the city. A Swedish woman, the daughter of an Auschwitz survivor, is captured hitting a neo-Nazi protester with her purse in 1985. The incident took place during a demonstration where neo-Nazism was present. The woman, in an act of resistance, reacted against the presence of the extremist group, bringing to light the horrors her mother had lived through. Hector Morgan, a World War II artilleryman, reunites with his family in 1945. In the photo, his wife and child run to embrace him in front of the house, decorated with British flags and a welcome banner. After years of separation and uncertainty, this moment symbolized the end of a difficult period and the beginning of a new phase for thousands of families celebrating the return of their loved ones. Mahatma Gandhi's funeral in 1948 brought together more than 2 million people in New Delhi. People even climbed electricity poles to get a better view of the procession. Gandhi, assassinated by a Hindu extremist, left a legacy of non-violence that inspired generations. This historical event marked the farewell of one of the most influential leaders of the 20th century. The Chevrolet house truck, the precursor to modern motorhomes, was a practical solution for long trips in the 1920s. Equipped with space to sleep and cook, the vehicle marked the beginning of road tourism, offering comfort while traveling. These caravans were ideal for exploring new territories in an era of increasing mobility and adventure. In Loei Province, Thailand in 1888, convicts underwent severe punishment. They were kept shackled to a wooden beam with weights on their feet, forcing extreme physical resistance. At the time, methods like these reflected the harsh reality of traditional Asian justice, which relied on physical punishments to enforce social control and respect for local laws. Two friends pose on the hood of a 1947 Chevrolet, first in a photo taken after dinner, and 63 years later, they recreate the same moment with the same car. It's an incredible memory, showing how the car has withstood the test of time, just like their friendship. A beautiful and simple way to remember moments that marked their lives. Soldiers say goodbye to their wives and girlfriends before embarking for World War II. The scene, marked by hugs and kisses at the train station, reflects the sadness of separations during the global conflict. For many, this was the last time they saw their partners as they set off to face the horrors of war, leaving behind bonds that would often never be restored. Behind the scenes of the 1966 Batman series, Adam West and Burt Ward, as Batman and Robin, film an iconic scene with the famous building climb. To create the illusion, they walked on an inclined platform while ropes and fans simulated the action. The production used simple but creative tricks that won over a legion of fans and marked the television of the time. Meyer Lansky, known as the Mafia accountant, was a notorious figure in organized crime in the United States. He was instrumental in managing the finances of various crime syndicates, including the famous Lucky Luciano's mob family. His skill at hiding profits and manipulating investments intelligently made him one of the most powerful criminals of his time. Members of the BBC sound effects department in 1927 used improvised instruments to create audio effects for radio programs. Before digital technology, they were responsible for simulating sounds like gunshots, thunder, and footsteps using everyday objects. This process was essential for the radio listening experience at the time, where listeners needed to imagine the scenes. Jacqueline Naitipe. Kiplimo's act of help marked the 2010 Genkai Marathon. She saw an amputee athlete struggling to drink water and decided to accompany him. From the 10 kilometers mark to the 38 kilometers mark, she ran beside him, helping him hydrate at every water station. This act of solidarity showed that empathy can surpass the quest for medals, captivating the world with its humanity. In London, the famous double-decker buses underwent rigorous tilting tests to ensure their stability. During the process, they were tilted at extreme angles to prove they wouldn't tip over, even on sharp curves. This care was essential to maintain passenger confidence and safety on the city's busy streets. In the United States, between 1850 and 1950, being gay was prohibited, and photos like this were taken secretly, defying the rules of the time. These records of affection between men show the courage of those who lived in a society that did not accept their existence. Margaret Hamilton poses beside the stack of navigation codes she and her team from MIT developed for the Apollo program in 1969. This software was essential for getting astronauts to the moon, highlighting the importance of software engineering in the space program. Hamilton pioneered the term software engineering, helping shape modern computer science. During World War II, amidst the destruction caused by bombings, civilians in cities like Berlin took in zoo animals in their homes. With no way to keep them in the bombed-out zoos, these residents did their best to feed and protect species that would otherwise have been abandoned. After the Chernobyl disaster in 1986, vehicles used in the exclusion zone underwent rigorous decontamination processes to remove radioactive particles. Intensive washings, as seen in this photo, were an essential part of reducing the spread of radiation. Even so, many vehicles were abandoned due to the high levels of contamination that could not be eliminated. A nurse shows a newspaper headline announcing the polio vaccine to a man confined to a thoracic respirator in 1955. The news represented hope for millions, especially for those who, like him, lived immobilized by the disease. Jonas Salk's vaccine marked a crucial advancement in the fight against polio, which caused devastating outbreaks at the time. Women work at a navigation center in the Netherlands in 1963, providing route guidance before the digital age. Using detailed maps and telephones, they helped drivers and travelers plan their routes. This system was essential in a time without GPS, ensuring accurate information was just a phone call away. This portrait of Terry Sawchuk, legendary hockey goalkeeper, illustrates the physical toll of playing without a face mask, a common practice before 1966. His face bears the scars of cuts and bruises accumulated throughout his career. Sawchuk, who played 21 seasons in the NHL, endured more than 400 stitches just on his face, showing the brutality and courage of the sport in his time. A man sits on a motorcycle called Crawler, designed in 1938. This unique model was developed for rough terrains with wide wheels that helped traverse uneven surfaces such as sand and snow. The vehicle was created to be more stable and functional on rugged ground, distinguishing it from conventional motorcycles of the time. Here we see the opening of the Southwest Expressway, now known as the Stevenson Expressway, in 1964. The road was one of the first in Chicago designed to alleviate the city's heavy traffic. Stretching about 20 miles, it quickly became one of the main transportation routes, but the congestion during rush hours, visible in the image, persists to this day. Albert Einstein, Hideki Yukawa, John Wheeler, and Homi Jehangir Bhabha walked together in 1954. The gathering of these great physicists marked a moment of idea exchange among brilliant minds of science. Einstein, already famous for his theory of relativity, was accompanied by Yukawa, a pioneer in particle physics, Wheeler, a black hole expert, and Bhabha, the father of India's nuclear program. A young newspaper boy stands in front of a closed theater in downtown Seattle, the result of an order from Mayor Ole Hansen during the Spanish flu pandemic in 1918. The prohibition of public gatherings led to the closure of theaters, schools, and other spaces, while authorities tried to contain the spread of the virus, which caused millions of deaths worldwide. In this 1868 photo, a Native American looks at the new transcontinental railroad crossing the Nevada desert. The construction of this railroad connected the east to the west, but also represented a drastic change for Native American lands. The arrival of the railroad accelerated the loss of territory and profoundly altered the way of life of Native Americans. James Dean's Porsche 550 Spyder was completely destroyed after the tragic accident on September 30, 1955, in Cholame, California. The car, a symbol of speed and style, was left in ruins, while Dean, the famous Hollywood actor, lost his life in this event that shocked the world. The fatality became one of the most memorable moments in cinema history and pop culture. Margaret Thatcher with British troops after the victory over Argentina in the Falklands War in 1982. The British Prime Minister was widely praised for her firm leadership during the 74-day conflict. The recapture of the islands reinforced her political image and solidified her nickname as the Iron Lady. The episode marked a turning point in her popularity and in British national pride. A Serbian soldier rests next to his father, who traveled to the front lines to visit him during World War I between 1914 and 1915 near Belgrade. Serbia faced Austro-Hungarian invasions amid devastating conditions. Despite the harshness of war, moments of affection like this offered comfort in times of uncertainty and suffering. American soldiers say goodbye to their loved ones through the windows of a ship before heading to Egypt in 1963. Known as the Last Kiss. The image shows the moment when wives and girlfriends lean in to give a final goodbye. These men were departing on a mission during the Cold War, leaving their families behind in emotional and farewell scenes. Diane Keaton and Al Pacino during the filming of The Godfather in 1972. They played Kay Adams and Michael Corleone, respectively, in one of the greatest cinematic classics. The film, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, was a milestone in both actors' careers, solidifying Al Pacino as one of the greatest actors of his generation, and Diane Keaton as a leading figure in Hollywood. Bruce Lee is photographed performing his famous two-finger push-up around 1970. This demonstration of strength and control amazed the public and was part of his martial arts performances. Lee not only revolutionized cinema, but also inspired generations with his philosophy and physical abilities, becoming a legend in both sports and entertainment. In 1971, in the 5th grade, Barack Obama, then called Barry, participated in a strike game organized with classmates in Mrs. Hefty's class. The photo, taken during the 1971 school year, shows Obama next to friends holding signs. A laid-back moment from the childhood of the man who would later become the 44th President of the United States. Arnold Schwarzenegger explores New York for the first time in 1968, camera in hand to document the moment. Recently arrived from Austria, he was still a young bodybuilder seeking opportunities in the United States. This visit marked the beginning of his journey, which would lead him to become a bodybuilding legend, film star, and eventually a prominent politician. In 1941, Mickey Rooney and Bette Davis were crowned King and Queen of Cinema in recognition of their success and impact on Hollywood. Mickey was known for his Andy Hardy film series and Babes in Arms *. Bette shone in classics such as Jezebel and All About Eve solidifying their positions as two of the biggest names of the golden age of cinema. 90 years ago, New York showcased a transforming skyline, with the Empire State Building newly opened as the tallest building in the world. Built during the Great Depression, it became known as the Empty Building, as it took years to attract tenants. At the same time, the Chrysler Building also competed for the title of tallest skyscraper, marking an era of great architectural advances. In 1919, in Detroit, Michigan, winter turned a common fountain into a 30-foot ice tower. Left running during the intense cold, the water froze in successive layers, creating an impressive natural monument. The event caught the attention of the locals and became a curious reminder of that harsh winter. 5 women parade down the street showcasing the bold style of the 1920s with shorter skirts and charming hats. The fashion of the time was marked by the flapper look, with looser dresses and short haircuts. This period was also known for the popularization of jazz, lavish parties, and female independence, with many women gaining greater social and professional freedom. Young children after a long day working in the mines. The photo reveals the physical impact of exhausting labor, with dirty and tired faces. During the Industrial Revolution, many children were forced to work in harsh conditions, poorly paid and exposed to dangerous environments. This kind of child exploitation was common until labor laws began to protect children. In October 1960, Senator John F. Kennedy and his wife Jacqueline Kennedy campaigned in New York. During this time, Kennedy was preparing for the presidential race, which would become historic. With his wife by his side, he captured the public's attention and began to solidify his charismatic image that would lead him to the presidency of the United States the following year. Marilyn Monroe and Sammy Davis Jr. were great friends and icons of the 1950s. Monroe, a Hollywood star, was known for her beauty and sensuality, while Davis Jr., a singer and dancer, faced challenges due to racism but stood out in show business. Both were part of the Rat Pack, a group of influential artists alongside Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. At just 16 years old, Celine Dion was already beginning to attract attention for her exceptional talent. The Image, from 1984, captures the young singer at an early stage of her career, before she became one of the world's most iconic artists. It was during this time that she was discovered by René Angelil, her future manager and husband, who would help her reach international stardom. The last consort queen of Mongolia, photographed in 1923, was a prominent figure in the country's history. She died in 1938 during Stalin's Great Purge, a period when thousands of Mongolian political and religious leaders were eliminated on charges of treason. Her death marked the end of an era, symbolizing the fall of the monarchy and the imposition of the Soviet communist regime in Mongolia. In the 1950s, young people like these adopted an elegant style with tailored suits, ties, and impeccably styled hair. Unlike today's casual clothing, this look reflected a formal standard expected even outside special occasions. Teenagers of the time balanced the transition into adulthood with the appearance of young gentlemen. General Ambrose Burnside, who fought in the American Civil War, became so famous for his distinctive facial hairstyle that the term sideburns was derived from his surname. Despite his striking appearance, Burnside had a controversial military career, facing criticism for his leadership during battles like Fredericksburg, where he suffered a devastating defeat. Albert Einstein is pictured alongside his secretary Helen Dukas and his stepdaughter Margot in 1940 during the naturalization process as American citizens. The decision was motivated by the rise of the Nazi regime in Germany, which posed a threat not only to his life as a Jew, but also to academic freedom. Einstein had emigrated in 1933, but his citizenship reinforced his security. The Titanic's lifeboat is towed toward the RMS Carpathia, the ship that rescued the survivors of the 1912 tragedy. This was the last lifeboat launched portside and carried between 15 and 25 people, an uncertain number. Small and improvised, it represented one of the last hopes for those who managed to escape the sinking. At Windsor Castle, Ronald Reagan and Queen Elizabeth II rode through Home Park in a gesture that reinforced the bonds between the United States and the United Kingdom. The Cold War dominated the global scene, and both countries maintained a solid political and military partnership. Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, aligned in their conservative views, strengthened this relationship with measures against Soviet expansion. Here we see the portrait of a family marked by the absence of a father after World War I. Millions of families faced devastating losses, with widows and orphans dealing with the absence of loved ones. In Europe especially, the war left deep emotional scars, as well as a generation marked by destruction and mourning.